And go.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Public Safety Committee. We have one item on our agenda for this afternoon, and it's to talk about the oversight work session on the alcohol and beverage services, ABS. And I'd like to welcome Kathy Durbin, I'm going to ask to introduce everyone else with her this afternoon. We usually do a lot of oversight when we do the budget and whatnot, but because of COVID and other impacts, we decided that we were going to do this during the year. And there's discussions about, of course, with the alcohol and beverage services, we have both a wholesale and a retail side, and that's always an interesting conversation. But let me just very publicly say how pleased I personally am, and I believe my colleagues will agree with me, that Kathy is the director. She brings literally a wealth of knowledge and a depth of information for this position. And I believe that if anyone can get us to the place that we want, then it's going to be Kathy Durbin. So with that, I turn it over to Kathy, and please introduce your team, and we'll get started.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Cindy. And good afternoon, everyone. Chair and Council Member Katz, President Hooker, and Council Member Albertus. So I would like to introduce, I'm going to look at my screen, no particular order. I see Kent Massey, who's Chief of Retail. I see John Zeltner. I feel like romper room a little bit. I see John Zeltner, who is Chief of Wholesale. Marty Udermal, who is Chief of Administration. And I know Melissa Davis is on here as well, who's our Communications Chief. Oh, and Chris Mullins here from OMB. Hi, Chris. Thank you. I would just like to say publicly, I want to thank the entire staff of ABS for the whole team for keeping us in business during this unprecedented time. So I want to make sure that is said. The mission of Alcohol Beverage Services is providing licensing, wholesale, and retail of beverage alcohol products, enforcement and effective education, and training programs, while also promoting moderation and responsible behavior in all phases of distribution and consumption. While that's not the entire mission, it does describe the need to balance the sale of alcohol with public safety. So when the pandemic hit, communities filled their pantries with toilet paper and alcohol. And that's where we were in the beginning of this pandemic. Following the declaration of the state of emergency, alcohol was deemed essential, as you all probably recall. This allowed ABS operations to move forward, maintain and improve services, and act as a resource to businesses licensed to sell alcohol in the county. Trainings and BLC hearings continued through virtual platforms. Deliveries were made, and ABS retail stores welcomed customers while supporting all safety measures. If it's okay, we will proceed with the PowerPoint presentation.
Well, let me turn to my colleagues first and see if they have any comments. I don't see. Yeah, Tom is back. The president, on this committee, we have both the president and the vice president. So we, President Hucker, excuse me? What did you say?
Sorry. I apologize.
Most important, the chairman. I don't have any opening remarks. I'm sure everybody's relieved to hear that. So thank you. I'm just
that's right.
Kathy's in charge as well.
Nobody has to take a drink because he's going to have opening remarks. Okay. But Mr. Vice President, do you have anything? No. And Niam, do you have anything who actually did the packet? He did all the work for us. Do you have anything before we start?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. With that, Kathy, please, we'll turn back to you.
So I'm going to do the most difficult thing I'll have to do today and start a PowerPoint presentation and we'll begin with retail.
Okay.
Can you see that?
No.
No. Okay, let's try one more thing. The screen. And let's see. Here we go. Share.
Yeah,
there you go.
Now we got it.
Yay. Okay. Whew. And in with you. Okay, Ken, thank you.
All right, you ready, Kathy, for me?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Kathy already said this once, but I'm going to say it to you guys too, just so I can apologize, because some people say I don't look like I make eye contact when I'm on these meetings, and it's because I have notes on multiple screens. So if I'm doing this or that or this, I promise I'm paying attention. I'm just reading my notes. So just to follow along with the PowerPoint, what we're doing. So prior to the impact of COVID, the retail stores had made several changes. Some of them to the way we staff stores. We actually implemented and created one of the first flexible hour part-time union represented positions with benefits in the county. So prior to COVID, we didn't have the ability to flex staffing up or down in the stores. The stores all ran at a set amount of hours, no matter what sales were. And in a traditional retail business, you flex up and flex down based on sales, and your payroll mirrors that. So we were able to get that position approved and have staffed the stores with those flexible part-time positions. It was something that we worked really hard with OMB and HR and the union to get approved, and we got it approved, and it's been very successful. Through doing that, we eliminated the use of temps in our stores as well, and reduced payroll in our stores, and virtually eliminated overtime in our stores. So we had done a lot going into the COVID time frame to get the stores running in a profitable manner. We also took a look at our cost of goods and how we were buying product and the discounts that you get for buying product at certain quantities, to make sure that our stores were buying product at the most profitable way they could. And we also put a big focus on local items, which I'll go into a little bit deeper later on this. But the bottom line is that prior to COVID, the stores were on track to have a very successful year, and to make a huge turnaround from where we were 3.5-4 years ago, when the stores, I think it was a $5 million loss 3 years ago and a $7.5 million loss the year before that. So to get the stores to a point where they were profitable is a huge accomplishment. So then COVID hit. So just to kind of give you an idea of what happened with COVID and on the retail side of things. The direct impact in sales loss, because we had to close stores due to outbreaks and the resulting lack of staffing and some of the mandates that were in place for quarantining employees and things like that, was $3.4 million to the stores. This doesn't include additional lost revenue from losing that sales traffic in those stores and having to regenerate that traffic. I will tell you, in some of the conversations I've had with people, everybody is like, well, wouldn't they have just gone to another store? And we actually measured for that, and we looked at that, and we looked at the increases that the other stores saw when stores closed and took that into account with that number. But what we also found out is that a lot of these customers went into other jurisdictions. They were either buying in DC, where they work, or out in Frederick where they work, or they were buying on the weekends in other jurisdictions. But it did make a pretty big impact on our sales. The Cabin John store, which I know Mr. Katz, you were talking about at the beginning of this call, that store saw the biggest negative impact out of all of our stores. And part of that was because of a state mandate. Cabin John was actually located in a mall. And because it was in a mall, it could not be opened for a large period of time during COVID. It was closed for several months. That store lost over $1.5 million in sales directly to being closed, and then another $300,000 in sales just due to trying to build the traffic back up. And unfortunately, once that store got fully reopened again, that shopping center was then under construction, and they no longer had a parking lot. You had to walk all the way around the building to get into the store. So they just saw some chain reaction, bad news. But the bright side of that store is that we have moved the location, and it's getting ready to grand open in the new location in that shopping center. And I'll tell that story at the end, but it's really exciting. So our total lost revenue between Cabin John and the lost in sales and retail is $4.5 million. Through the period, we looked at about 315 as the beginning of COVID for us, and then through the end of the fiscal year. And then during that same time period, we also, because of the closures of a lot of the licensees, the bars and restaurants and beer and wine stores that actually come in and use our stores as a dispensary to get their products instead of having stuff delivered from the warehouse, we also saw another $4.5 million drop in sales during that same period due to those businesses being shuttered or having reduced operations. So it was a total of a $9 million impact in sales revenue to the retail stores from that 3/15 through the end of the fiscal year. We had some mandates that really affected our business. So when you look at those mandates, there were limits on the numbers of customers allowed in stores at the state level and at the county level. A lot of those mandates, because we had to control the number of people in our stores, we then had to have door monitors to monitor to make sure that we had the right head count of people in the stores and we weren't letting too many people in. To make sure that outside of the stores that people were safe, socially distancing in line and spaced at least 6 feet apart, to let people know about the masks and that they had to have a mask on when they came in the store, and to deal with some of that. And as you guys all know, if you watch the news, we had some violent issues in our store, and unfortunately had some employees get hurt during that process. We had some really busy days where for the first time ever, we had to put off-duty police officers that we contracted, through the Montgomery County Police Department in our stores to help manage crowd control and, make sure that, our customers and our employees were safe. And then we had stores that had to close. We already had reduced staffing because of some of the leave policies that were in place and people being able to take off to take care of family, or they were high risk. And so we were already really short on staffing. And then when we would have an outbreak where, 1 or 2 people would get sick, once you started doing the tracing, 4 or 5 people might get put out for, a total of 10 to 14 days. And so stores would have to get closed down. We would have to go in and fog those stores and sanitize those stores to make sure they were safe for employees and customers to return to. And then, because of the number of employees that we did have out that were high risk, or because they were taking care of sick family members, we had to reduce our hours of operation. And so we went from being open 10 to 9 to, being open 12 to 7. And, we had to close on Sundays. And, so all of those things, impacted our business. And, fortunately, we're out of the woods on those things. And, we're back open to full hours of operation. We're back open on Sundays. The foot traffic is back. When we look at our numbers, our foot traffic is significantly up, not just up over what it was last year, but up over it was the year before COVID happened. So we're trending the way we want to trend. The trade-off to that is people are not pantrying anymore. So you're not seeing those huge average tickets that we were seeing last year. However, the increase in foot traffic is offsetting that. And so we're still seeing increased sales compared to where we were last year. We're up over 3%. We're continuing to grow the business, which is what we want to do. And we're continuing to grow it in a more profitable method than we did in the past. Through the improvements that we've made on cost control, how we buy things on payroll, that increase in sales is going to result in increase in profit. And then with our new stores and our remodel stores, we're introducing a lot of things that are going to help drive that profitability. So we're looking at this a lot more like a private business, which is where my experience is. We're doing a lot with cross merchandising strategies. And an example of that is some of our stores are going to be featuring cocktail end caps. So you're going to walk into a store and the end cap might show you how to make an old fashioned, and it'll have, all the ingredients we carry for an old fashioned. And then it'll have recipe cards on there. So not only are you going in and buying your whiskey or your liquor, you're buying all the ingredients to go with it to make that cocktail. When we're doing tastings in stores, I'm encouraging our suppliers to taste cocktails, not straight liquor. So when you come in and you taste something, they're actually making up a small cocktail that you can taste and go, oh, okay, so what do I need to get to buy this? And all of those items that support that are the items that are a high margin and help us. One of the other things that we did is some of our smaller formats used to be hidden behind the counter. You had to ask for them. Now they're out in front of the counter. And those things typically tend to be a much higher margin and drive a lot more profit for the county. So we're putting those in areas where they're accessible, but they can still be watched by the employees and they're still close to the employees. So some of the other challenges that we faced, supply chain is broken, and it's broken everywhere. You can turn on the news and see all the ships sitting outside of all the ports, and there's no longshoremen to unload the ships. And you've got companies like Amazon and Walmart that literally are buying up all the collateral when it comes to shipping containers because they know what kind of holiday season they're going to have, and it's keeping other companies from even being able to get the containers they need to put product in. So there's shortages on glass, there's shortages on cans, there's shortages on twist tops, there's shortages on wax. Like we had a company a couple of weeks ago that couldn't ship us product because they didn't have the cardboard dividers that go in between beer to protect it in shipping. And so constantly facing all these supply chain shortages. And the challenge is, how do we keep our shelves from looking empty? And hopefully if you guys have been in the stores, you'll see our shelves don't look empty. And you can go into some other control systems, and you can go into the private sector and you can see empty shelves in a lot of stores. And the reason our shelves aren't empty is because we've changed the way we're buying products. So if we can't get Patron or we can't get Casamigos, I'm entertaining a lot more new suppliers that can get me product. So things I might have said no to a year ago, I'm saying yes to right now, so that we can provide our customers an option and we can provide them, things they want. It may not be the brand they're looking for because Patron may not be shipping right now, but I'm going to show them 3 other tequilas that are great and just as good, and talk about that and try and get them into their hands so that they at least leave happy and they leave with some product in their hands. And then while all this is going on in retail, like I said, we still work to control payroll. We have reduced our overtime at retail, which when I came here, the numbers were unbelievable when I first got here. We were one of the worst departments in the county on overtime. We're now one of the best. We've gone from having over 20% of payroll as overtime to it's insignificant. It's almost non-existent in retail, and a lot of that goes back again to being able to get that part-time position approved. We are profitable, which that's a huge achievement for us. And we're going to continue to drive what that percent of profitability is so that we're, equal to what the private sector is. But we're out of the hole. We're making money, and that's a huge accomplishment, and that's only going to continue to get better. I know Marty will get a chance to talk a little bit later, and he can give you specific numbers and details on those things, but it's exciting that, we're now bringing money in for the county. And then the last thing I just kind of want to touch on is what that future looks like. And so one of the things that we started before the pandemic was a real focus on local business. So to Kathy's credit, when I first started working here, one of the things that she told me that I really needed to work on and really needed to fix was the relationship that we had with local suppliers, in Montgomery County and in the state. And we had a lot of detractors from people running breweries and running distilleries and running wineries in the state that felt like it was hard for them to get their products in our stores. And when they did get their products in our stores, that product was priced at the wrong price, and it was too high, and it didn't move, and it gathered dust. And so we would make one big order, and then we would never order again. But then worse, we would delist those items. We would put them out of the store. And when we put them out of the store, we would put them at a ridiculous clearance price. And so then that impacted their sales in other locations. And so we stopped doing that, and we worked with suppliers to allow them to actually supply directly to the stores. So their license allows them to sell to retailers anywhere in the state. And we were going through two tiers. They were going through wholesale and retail. Now they can sell directly to the stores. And we worked really hard to make sure that we were within the limits of the law, and that was something that worked out for the suppliers. And we got it. We made it happen. We got it worked out to the point where our local business went from almost non-existent, under $80,000 a year, to being a multi-million-dollar profitable business for us. And it's something where we're helping Maryland-based businesses and Montgomery County businesses in specific, do what they need to do to drive their business and thrive and get started. And for those businesses, like you look at some of these local breweries that are opening in the county, when they come to us, they immediately get 26 points of distribution. So instead of them having to go out and try and sell to every single business, they can immediately get 26 points of distribution. It keeps all the money in the county. It helps those counties thrive. They're hiring local workers, they're paying taxes. So it's a benefit to everybody if we can help those businesses get up and get started. And then I think one of the most exciting things that we have going on right now is the Cabin John store. So that store will open at the end of this month. We're planning a soft opening the last Tuesday and Wednesday of October. There'll be a soft opening and then a grand opening. And I will tell you that that store rivals anything you've ever seen when it comes to liquor stores and beer and wine stores. When you think about like some of the high-end Total Wine stores and things like that, that's where this store is at. And that store actually has a tasting room and an education room in it, where local suppliers can come in and they can take over that room. And it has a walk-in cooler, it has beer caps, it has fixtures for them to merchandise in, and they can actually come in for a weekend and do a tap takeover and take over that entire room, to basically sell their business. They put their product in there, they run the sampling, and they promote their product for a weekend. And then when they're done, they clean it up and clean the tap lines, and then it's free for somebody else to sign up for the next weekend. And we already have, we have local brewers in Montgomery County that are just, they're lining up to come take part in this. They're super excited about it. We've talked to Lone Oak, we've talked to Silver Branch, we've talked to Denizens. All of these local brewers are so excited about the opportunity to get in there and be able to do something, fun and exciting. But this store format is the format of the future. And if you've been out to the Poolsville store, that was the first store that we did this way. And Poolsville is basically the low end of what we're doing in retail. So that will be the lower end look and feel. And then Cabin John is the high end look and feel. And as we renegotiate and re-sign each of these leases over the next 7 years, we're negotiating tenant improvement allowances, and we're negotiating with landlords to even do the build out for us, to make these stores look like these stores. So we want them to be somewhere in between what Cabin John is and what Poolsville is, to elevate that brand experience. And if you guys look at my background, I'll try and lean out of the way a little bit, but if you look at my background, that signage that's behind me is the front of the new Cabin John store. And so our stores will no longer be liquor and wine. They'll be called Oak, Barrel, and Vine, and they'll get that name change as they get that remodel. So as each store gets remodeled, gets all the new look and feel, the new fixtures, they'll have that new branding as well. But they'll also be set up a lot better to be able to do things like cross merchandising and end cap merchandising and drive sales of, higher profit margin items that are going to ultimately, at the end of the day, help our bottom line and give us more money to give back to the county.
Okay. Well, thank you very, very much. First off, now Poolsville is strictly spirits, right? There's no beer and wine.
That is correct. And we plan to continue to explore that option in other areas of the county. And we've talked a lot about what is our part of the business in beer and wine? How does that affect, other licensees, and, whether that's the on-premise or whether that's the beer and wine stores. And we're exploring, and Cabin John will be one of the stores that we do it in. We're exploring on our full service stores, scaling back some of the beers that we do sell. So things like Corona, I carry 6 different sizes of Corona in my stores, and I would much rather carry local brands and help the local Montgomery County businesses thrive and give them space and give up those Corona sales and those Budweiser sales and those Coors Light sales to the beer and wine stores. And so, if you come in my store at Cabin John and you want Coors Light, you might be able to find a 12-pack of Coors Light in cans, and you might be able to find a 12-pack in bottles, but that's it. I'm not going to carry the 30 cube and the 6-pack and I'm going to free up that space and give that to the local people that we're supporting in Montgomery County. But that's going to let the beer and wine store down the street get that business as well. So for me, I want those big name brands to almost be an afterthought, a convenience, oh, I want to get it, I don't want to go somewhere else. But if you want that selection on those national brands, I really do want you to go in the beer and wine store, because you're also buying those from the county. And so I don't want to be a competition to, our licensees. Where I can do spirits only, and I can do it profitably, and I can have the foot traffic to do it and make it right. If I can do that and open up right next to a beer and wine store and help their business, that is my goal, and that's what I want to do. And we've looked in several areas, Colesville, Laytonsville, Sunnyside. I mean, we've got JLL researching, the market demographics and populations and income levels for us. And we're constantly exploring where we can put stores and get them in the right places. One of the keys to us doing this and doing it at the right price and not overspending on these remodels is making sure that we have our own construction contracts in place through procurement. So prior, the way we used to do it and still do it, honestly, is we use the contracts that are already in place. And those contracts that are already in place are contracts for companies that build office buildings for the county. They are not people that build bars and restaurants and retail stores. And so there is not a contract in place that can do that. So we're probably about 3/4 of the way through the contract process with procurement to basically have where we can select from 3 different build-to-suit contractors that are already under contract and approved through procurement. So each time I sign a lease, I can pick one of those 3. And then we would also have a contract administrator and architect on contract to help on that side as well, so that we're not, paying exorbitant fees to people that are used to doing skyscrapers. They're retail people.
And as I started out by saying, we have both wholesale and retail. So we have to be fair to the other licensees who also have to buy from Montgomery County, but we should not treat the county retail stores any different than we would treat a person that's not a county retail store but has to buy their goods from the county. And I applaud everything that you're doing and continuing to do. But when you said earlier that the retail stores buy in bulk, is that bulk for a store, or is that could a mom and pop shop that's buying beer and wine from Montgomery County, could they get the exact same deal that your retail stores are getting?
Yes. So one of the things the state and Kathy and I just had a call about this a couple weeks ago, just to make sure that we were abiding by the law and that what we were doing was right and fair. So what you're talking about is quantity discounts or discount allowances.
Yep.
And the state comptroller has interpreted the way that law is written, that is based on each retail location, and that you cannot use our ability as a chain of 26 stores to transfer product around to exploit a quantity discount. And so we do not. And we did clarify that that's the way that the state does view us as retail stores. And that's how we do it. And we comply with that. Anything that we do, any other retail store can do as well. Now, to that point, our focus is on liquor. And our focus on quantity buys is on liquor. There are a lot of quantity buys out there for wine and things like that as well that we don't even get involved in. But our beer and wine stores can get those discounts if they want to get those discounts. And we just don't get involved in that because I really don't want to undercut them. In fact, on July 1st, we initiated a new pricing strategy. We went to everyday low pricing. And it's been hugely successful. So, I mean, we used to have like 600 items on sale and now we have like 25 or 30, but those 25 or 30 items are real sales. Instead of something being 25 cents off or 37 cents off, and basically every single thing we get a discounting, we rolled that into our retail prices and lowered our retail prices across the board. But we did it at a point where we're not losing any income, but it makes our prices look more attractive. We're making it up in volume. But then we took like 25 to 30 items, liquor-based items, and put them on Doorbusters. The only time we do a wine or a beer on a Doorbuster price is if we're matching, a local grocery store or Total Wine or something like that. If they're doing, a Woodbridge wine, we might match their price for 30 days. But on the things that our beer and wine stores really go after, which is it's the boutique wines. They like the selection, they like the variety. Like, we're not even touching that. I look at our prices. I make sure that I'm not undercutting them. I stopped doing coupons because some of our, most vocal beer and wine stores that we have came to me and said, when you offer a coupon and they apply it to these items, you're selling it cheaper than I can buy it for. Yep. And so I looked into it and they were right. They were 100% right. And so I immediately stopped doing coupons. I don't do them anymore. I don't think they're fair. And I think it provides us an unfair competitive advantage, which we don't want to hurt the licensees.
And the liquor stores, the county liquor stores, dispensaries, I don't know what we're calling them this week. Are you still not allowed to sell beer that's cold?
So I cannot sell beer that's cold. I don't honestly ever want to sell beer that's cold unless it was local beer. But even that, I really think that we're venturing down a slippery slope we don't want to get into. What I really would like to be able to do, and I've talked to Kathy about this, and it's something that we can have further conversations about, is I would like to be able to chill spirits. I would like to be able to sell cold spirits-based seltzers, which right now, the way the law is written, I can't. But since I'm the only person in the county that can sell them, I would like to be able to chill them for our residents. Okay. But that's something that we would have to go through the legislature to do. That's a much longer conversation, but it wouldn't hurt any of our licensees by us doing that. But if we sold chilled beer, I'm afraid it would, and I don't want to do anything to negatively impact them.
I hear you. When you were talking earlier about that the local breweries can sell directly to the stores, are you saying that they can sell directly to the county stores as well as to any individual?
So their license allows them to sell directly to any retailer, whether that be a beer and wine store in the county, whether that be a county, dispensary, and in the open state, it's the same way. They can sell direct. They don't have suppliers. They're their own supplier until they hit a certain gallonage per year of distribution. They're allowed to do that, but we previously didn't allow them to. Now we do allow them to do that, and it gets them in the stores at a much better price.
All right, and I'm going to turn to my colleagues here in 2 seconds. But of the 26 stores that we have, we talked about Cabin John, which is understandable, but it's the worst profitable store that we have, or it's not a profitable store by far. But we're turning that around. Of the 26, half of our stores are either not profitable or almost not profitable. I mean, you made less than $200 or something. So half of them, how are we, but the trend, I did see where the trend is going in the right direction. I mean, you're obviously trying your best to do what's right. How much of, how fast can we expect those to be turned around so that they're something that we can say every one of them is profitable, or if not, why not?
Absolutely. And look, I come from a background where, you were expected, your net profit was supposed to be between 8 and 12%. And we're not there yet. And my goal is to get us there and get us there as fast as we can. I talked a lot to Marty about this at the beginning of the pandemic, because we were, like I said, before the pandemic hit, we were on track. And my biggest fear when the pandemic hit is everybody was going to look at the sales from the pandemic and go, oh, well, they're profitable this year because of the pandemic. And I spent a lot of time with Marty showing him like the trends and where we were heading before that hit, just so that he understood, and then to understand the pandemic and what it cost us. And so it was really important for me that people understood that, because the swings were huge. When you go back and you look at it, we really were going in the right direction, and we're still going in the right direction. And now that a lot of those additional expenses are gone, you're just going to see it continue to go in the right way. I will tell you, like, there are other things I am doing to reduce costs. So all of my stores, when I started here, had assistant managers in them. Well, if you look at the private sector, there's no $2 million retail store in the private sector that has a store manager and an assistant manager. We don't need that many people. Well, one of the, I don't know if you want to call anything of COVID positive, because I don't think COVID is positive in general, but one of the impacts of COVID is we have a lot of people retiring. And as those people retire, we've had through attrition the chance to actually eliminate a lot of these assistant manager positions. And I'm going to continue to do that to where really only the top third of my stores are going to have assistant managers in them, and the rest of them are not. We're going to continue through attrition, and it was a 5-year plan that we were talking about before COVID. Unfortunately, COVID kind of put a pause on it, but we had a 5-year staffing plan to get to, the point where our mix of employees was at least half of our employees were those part-time union positions. And we're doing that also through attrition. So we're not hiring from the outside any more full-time people. We don't hire the 32-hour at all anymore. We only hire the part-time flex position, which is a significant savings for us. And then those people can get promoted to full-time. They can work towards getting a full-time job. But our stores, they only need a manager, 2 full-timers, and then part-timers in most of our stores, except for our busiest, highest volume stores. The other thing we've done is change the job descriptions for these employees, that when they get hired, they understand they have to be willing to work in any store at any time. They have a store where they get the majority of their hours, but if I need somebody that works in Rockville to work in Montrose, they have to work in Montrose. That's part of their job description. We couldn't do that before. We didn't have that leverage or that ability before. So every time we needed somebody to cover, it was overtime. It's not overtime for us anymore. And so like I said, we're continuing to do those things, and we'll continue to drive those things. And like I said, I can't give you a fixed number of, this year it's going to be 3% and next year it's going to be 5%. I can tell you that I have a 5-year plan to get us where I believe we should be, which is between 8 and 12% net profit. And I also have a growth strategy. I also believe that we have a gap in stores, and there are a lot of areas still in this county where we can put stores where it won't cannibalize our existing stores. It will get people that currently do not shop in our county to shop in our county because they live close to somewhere else. And, some of those things are mandated. You talk about like Damascus being damp, and, what's going to happen there, and will there be an opportunity to put something there? But I have a lot of friends that live in Damascus, and I can tell you they all shop in Mount Airy. They do not come down to Clarksburg. They drive to Mount Airy to shop. There's a reason that Mount Airy has 6 liquor stores in a 1-mile radius. So, we're missing an opportunity there that if, the rules ever change, we could bring some significant revenue into the county. We made a really bad decision several years ago to put a store in Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase needs a store. We just need to make sure it's in the right location, right shopping center, right rent, and then it has accessible parking. So there's a lot of opportunity for us.
Thank you. I'm going to turn to Vice President Albornoz, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's such an I'm always conflicted when we get briefed by you guys, because I also chair the Health and Human Services Committee, and I'll be honest. I was very anxious, particularly at the beginning of the pandemic, because of the behavioral health issues we were seeing around depression and everything associated with it. So, it's such an odd juxtaposition to be excited that we're generating this additional revenue, knowing that for some people, it's probably, we may be paying for this on the other end through other social service and through our social safety net. So I really, on the one hand, and so I guess I'll say I'm going to speak out of both sides of my mouth here, so bear with me. But I'll stay on the retail side in this presentation, which is perfectly relevant. And as Kathy knows, I used to direct a department that was responsible for bringing in its own revenue. And so I do have a special appreciation for the unique complexities of the work that you all have to carry out in the current environment that we're in, with a strong partnership with labor and ensuring that we do right by our employees, while also acknowledging the mission of the department, which is to turn a profit, which helps us address a myriad of other issues in the county. And I think also organically, uniquely positions us to address the issue I started with, which is monitoring from a health and human services standpoint, better than if we were exclusively in the private sector, in which it could very quickly become like the Wild Wild West, as you see in other jurisdictions. So it's a weird dichotomy. With all that as background and context, on this first side of my mouth, we have such a uniquely international community. And in my family, my mom's family is from Chile. And so we're always looking for a good pisco. And we have such a strong international community, and that's such an asset for so many different reasons. And I've often given this example, but my friends at the Fillmore through Live Nation, it took them about a year and a half or so to get their bearings straight on which bands and musical performers would really do well here in our community. And what they landed on, which is beautiful, is a very multicultural and multi-ethnic list of performers. And that was, of course, part of the pandemic. So how are we, being intentional about, that being an asset, meeting the needs of this diverse set of our public? Do we have, as part of our buyers, do we have as part of our staff who often reflects that diversity? I've just, that's anecdotal, but it seems to. How do we take advantage of that market to better serve our customers and then conversely increase revenue?
So that's a great question, and actually something that I take a big part in that I really enjoy. I actually run the listing and selection process for the retail stores, and so I have a big part in selecting what we bring in, but also chasing down those items, because not everything is always presented to us that exists in the market. So a lot of it deals with reading trade journals and being involved in a lot of online forums for all different types of beverages and really keeping up with the trends. So I will tell you, we also have some really good suppliers that work for us that know that that's something that we want to support and we want to drive. And I mean, just some examples of some things that we've done on the retail side of things. And I will tell you, I don't know if she's on here and able to talk or not, but Melissa Davis, who's our division chief of marketing, has been a huge help in, as well as we started with Black History Month this last year, trying to make sure that we were well represented with Black-owned brands in our stores, whether it be wine, beer, or spirits. And we had opportunities. And what I didn't want to do, and what I made a point of letting Melissa know, but letting all these suppliers know as well, is, look, I don't just want to bring a bunch of Black-owned brands in and throw them on the shelves for Black History Month and go, look, we participated, and then be done. Like, I want to help these brands thrive. I want to reach out to some of these suppliers, and I want to give them an opportunity that they may not have had before. And so we committed on all of these brands that they were going to get 18 months on the shelf. And we were going to, these were the metrics that they had to hit, and we would work with them to get them there, whether it was through, marketing on our end or support with end caps or floor stacks, to make sure that they were getting pricing incentives and things like that. But it allowed us to bring in, we brought in over 20 different brands of beer, wine, and spirits that we did not have in our stores before, that are all still in our stores, and we continue to add to that portfolio. And then we did something again in June for Juneteenth to support those brands as well. I talked a little bit about JLL before. So JLL is the leasing agent for the county, but JLL has some of the best heat map tools available to be able to look at what our market is. And that is all free to anybody in the county, because we have a contract with them to be our leasing agent. So anytime I want data for any neighborhood, any area we're looking at, I can get that data. It's demographic data, it's income data, age-related data. There's crime statistics there. I can get a lot of information. And some of the information comes just from our customers asking. We get people that are asking for shochu, or we get people that are asking. I have one store that they sell more Ethiopian beer in this one store than we sell in the rest of the county. And so, taking that pulse and making sure that we're listening to the customers that are coming into the stores, using that demographic data, and then following social media and following these online forums and reading these trade journals to make sure that, we're bringing in things that do appeal to that diverse market we have. We have a huge kosher market in 5 of our stores. But what sells in those stores may not sell in my Clarksburg store. And so making sure that, I'm mirroring those products to those areas. So I have a core 1,800 items that you will find in every single store you come into. And that's something that we implemented about 3 years ago. But then on top of that, I allow the flexibility of my stores to have 200 additional items that appeal to their market, that appeal to their demographics and their customer base. And then we just created a new position, which again, I funded 3-to-1. So I eliminated 3 positions that I didn't need. I funded 1 position. I ended up saving about $150,000 a year in payroll and added a position that we desperately needed. But I now have somebody that their entire function in life is to make sure that the items that each store is supposed to have are in that store, being reordered, where they're supposed to be on the shelves, and that they're tracking those trends, they're tracking those products. And if they're not hitting the metrics that they're supposed to be hitting, they're getting in touch with the suppliers and saying, look, we really want to support this brand. We want to help this brand, but it's not hitting the thresholds it needs to hit for us to keep ordering it. So we need to come up with something that is mutually beneficial, that works for both of us, that so we can continue helping to support your product. And then the last thing is, my store manager of my Leisure World store, his name is Preston James. He's also our diversity captain for our whole department. But he is actively involved in the listing committee. I use him to help me select wines and spirits and beers. And he also is constantly looking for new offerings, you know, and from any different diverse background that we may not carry, that might be something different that is successful. And he reaches out to Pennsylvania and New Hampshire and North Carolina and Alabama and some of these other control states to see what they have and what they're doing that's working for them that might work for us. And so we're constantly exchanging those ideas, and he's always looking for new products to bring in as well. So I've got some great people that are really helping me with those efforts as well.
Thank you. Just a couple other questions and thoughts. The next is, and you touched on this, but leases. So, you know, we have like just a ton of vacant retail space across the entire county, which is also indicative of the rest of the country right now because of what's happened during the pandemic. That I would assume presents opportunities for us, whether it be through renegotiation of leases or other potential options. You mentioned the Chevy Chase and looking for an alternative and more appropriate location. I've always been impressed by our real estate services team within the Department of General Services. Is that who you guys work through, or do you have your own in-house person monitoring that?
So in-house, it's me. I always invite Marty and Kathy to sit in on the calls. I will tell you, they are great and very fascinated by that side of the business. I have experience in it from my days in the private sector. And then we have Neil Anker, who helps us out, and Valerie Weiss and Valerie Hamilton, who are from DGS and risk management. So the four of us are the ones that are involved with that, along with Thomas Jackman from JLL. And so I will tell you that, like, and Kathy has been on some of these calls with me. I mean, the Burtonsville store, I almost closed the store. I almost walked away from it. Because they weren't giving me the terms that needed to be given and were fair and, you know, were what it should be for that market. And I was able to negotiate a lower rent and negotiate tenant improvement allowances from that landlord as well to help us remodel that store, which it desperately needs. Kingsview and Goshen are both up for renewal. Their leases actually expire the end of this month. We still haven't signed the final lease paperwork. Because it came down to the wire. They were trying to raise rents in a market where you can't do that. There's HVAC units on the roofs of those buildings that are 25 years old, but typically the tenant has to pay for that. And I refuse to pay $50,000 for these buildings to put a new HVAC on when I know that, you know, those landlords should be giving concessions, because that's the market we're in right now. My Westwood store, West Bart Avenue, the lease they're presenting to us right now they're getting ready to build some vertical residential and retail and really upgrade that center. But the bottom line is that at the end of 10 years, they've got my rent at $100 a square foot. It's insane. Like, I'm not doing it. And so I just signed a 1-year extension on the old property, but I haven't signed for a new space in that new existing building because I'm not accepting those terms. And I know the market won't give them that money, and so eventually they'll come back with a lower rent, or, you know, we'll look at a space across the street in the Whole Foods Center. But it's just, you have to know what's going on. You have to be in touch with the market. I will tell you, I'm out at least 2 days a month driving the market, looking for locations. I meet at least once a month with Thomas from JLL, but we talk once a week. I mean, we're constantly in touch over what real estate is open, what's out there, you know, what do the comps look like. And like I said, we're very actively involved in negotiating these leases. We have had some huge success. I've not signed the paperwork yet, so I don't want to say it and jinx myself, but I have a landlord right now in a unbelievable location, if we get it, that if this deal goes through, they're going to do a $750,000 build out for us at their cost, and they're going to manage and do everything. So we won't even deal with it. Like they're going to go to Cabin John and they're going to say, okay, this is what they want, and they're going to build it in that location for us. And they'll turn it over to us, and we'll put our fixtures and product and registers and cameras in, but everything else will be done when we get there. So we're making a lot of headway. And a lot of these things are things we should have been doing all along. They're not, this isn't new. This is normal business as usual. But again, very, unique market we're in right now, and we need to try and capitalize on that as much as we can.
So 2 final points for now, and then I don't know if there's more in the presentation regarding the restaurant side or the distributor side, but so I have 4 kids, and 3 kids ago, Kathy and I served together on the Nighttime Economy Task Force, which ironically, I think Councilmember Jawando and Councilmember Glass, and even Councilmember Friedson, I think, played a little bit of a role in its development as well. But you can draw a straight line between what you all just described and trying to make us more engaging and enticing millennials are actually, they're having their own kids now. They're buying houses. It's actually Gen Y now, which is insane. But as we develop stores like Cabin John, and as we look at other options, I'm sure, and I know that we have that market in mind, but for that market, they live in the social media world. Most of the world does these days. And so, brick and mortar is great. But how are we developing digital platforms? Do you guys have some capacity in-house to get to people where they are from a digital media standpoint? And, it's a totally different world than when that report was established, but the problem remains the same. So any insight in that would be helpful. And then I have one final point in the end.
So a little bit of that I'll leave to Melissa Davis, our director of marketing, because she can answer some of those questions specifically. But from the retail side, I will tell you, we are in the selection process of upgrading our point of sale systems in the store. And while most people will go, well, what the heck do cash registers have to do with what I just asked? I will tell you that our cash register system is very dated. Because of the restrictions we have, it has limited us in doing things that we should be doing, like curbside pickup, order online and pick up in store. Just simple things that you would expect a business to be able to do in this day and age. Our systems don't allow for that. So I've been very specific in this RFP process that we're going to have, a portability function. So if somebody pulls up to pick up their delivery, we can take their payment curbside at their car window. We can, they can pay online and pick up in store. It's got to have all those things in place because, like you said, that's the way people shop now. And it's not just millennials. My mom is 77 years old, and absolutely. She does not go in stores anymore. She has figured out how to use her iPhone. And if she can get it by the curb, that's where she gets it. And if she can't, she's on the phone complaining to the manager. So I get all the requests and I get all the calls for it. We were working on getting to this long before COVID hit. Unfortunately, what happened with COVID is it slowed a lot of other businesses down, and it slowed this bid process down and trying to get this implemented in our stores. And it's needed and it's coming. We have talked to companies like Drizzly about, can they help us, do something with buy online, pick up in store? Could we contract with somebody like that? So when they go onto the Drizzly platform, they can actually order it and it takes it straight through ABS. And so there's a lot of options out there. There's a lot of things that we're looking at. And it's definitely the way we're going. It's needed and it will happen. The first step is getting that new POS system in place. We're also doing things where we're talking with suppliers. There's new ways to do mail-in rebates now. So manufacturers' rebates are allowed. You can do a hang tag on a bottle where somebody does a $3 mail-in rebate, but you can also do it with a QR code with Venmo, where they leave the store with their receipt. They scan the QR code on the bottle and they scan their receipt and instantly get $3 in their bank account. So we're talking with suppliers about doing things like that appeal more to the millennials and Gen Y. And the final part on that is it's the big taboo. And I can't see Kathy's face right now, so she might frown at me when I say this. But the other thing is delivery, and what are the options there? Well, the state of Maryland has some pretty strict laws on delivery. And right now, delivery has to be by your own employees. So you can't use a third party source in the state of Maryland to do delivery. So if we wanted to deliver alcohol, it would have to be our employees delivering it. And then we get into what you were talking about at the very beginning is there's the whole other side to this where we are control, and there's a reason for control. And the reason for that is responsible drinking and community safety. And look, we might have a need for 35 stores. We don't have a need for 200 stores. And when you look at our population demographics in other areas around the country, they have 200, 250 stores, and they have the crime to go with it. And they have the drunk driving relating fatalities to go with it, and the underage drinking statistics to go with it. And, that's one of the things that we don't want. We want to have responsible drinking. We want to have responsible consumption. And, I don't want to harp on the Cabin John store, but again, just because it is that prototype, when you walk into the Cabin John store, before you see any product in that store, the first thing you see, and it's angled strategically so that it's what you see before you see product, is a 70-inch TV screen and then a place for brochures. And that 70-inch TV screen will feature advertisements for local suppliers and things like that, but it will also have our messaging for responsible drinking. It will also say things like, we ID everyone. There will also be brochures there for people to take about, excessive drinking and things like that, because our job is to educate the community and also generate revenue for the county. And we understand that we have a dual mission that conflicts sometimes, but we want to make sure that we're doing both. And I think in a lot of the things that we're considering that are technology based, we also want to make sure we're responsible and we're not providing accessibility to products to underage drinkers and things like that. So we are taking a lot of time and making sure we're doing the research and doing it right when we're doing it.
Thank you. Those are comprehensive responses, and I can feel your passion for this stuff. So it's good. Just the last, it's more of a comment, but when I campaigned 3 years ago, I was sort of a little surprised that, I would say in the top 8 of issues that people would bring to my attention, I was in 71 different living rooms across the entire county without fail, and almost all of them, people would complain about having to go to some other jurisdiction to get a cheaper price or a better selection. And you could tell people hadn't really visited one of our retail shops in a long time, or maybe ever. And so I do think that we've made some good strides there, and we just have to keep up that good work, because this is one of those issues that people turn to, that they want to see a better job of. Anyways, I yield back to you, Mr. Chairman. That was a long time, and I'll may have some other questions regarding other parts of the presentation later. Thanks.
Thank you. And I do appreciate that, in the words of the Vice President, your comprehensive answers. However, if we could be a little bit more succinct, that might be a little bit more helpful. And the only other question I have, and I'm going to turn to the Council President, but when you were discussing, as an example, Ethiopian beer, the fact that you have one store that's selling more than any other throughout the county, do we have Ethiopian beer in the other stores, though obviously not to the same degree?
So it's in the stores where it works. So when I have something where I see it takes off in one store, I absolutely try it everywhere to see. So we'll send 4 or 5 cases out just to see what it does. And if it doesn't do well, we'll pull it back and redistribute it. Obviously, I can't do it if I got a quantity discount on it or anything like that. I've got to sell through it and mark it down. But if I didn't get a quantity discount and I can move it around to, save the money, then I will. But we try it everywhere. And then if we have things, and kosher products are very similar too. You'll see them they go crazy in some locations and don't do well in others. So we do try it everywhere first, and then we pull back if it doesn't work.
Okay, very good. Council President Hucker, I can't see you on my screen, so.
Right here.
You have a question? There you go. Now I can see you. Do you have questions?
Sure. Well, I mean, Kathy and your whole team, I'm really grateful for all the work you've been doing over the last a couple years, probably since we may have seen you, under very difficult circumstances. And I feel like, I mean, the feedback I get from the public, and particularly from licensees and restaurateurs who have been dealing with you for years, is that the overall direction of the department is much better, more customer focused, and that they haven't had the delays with shipping and other things that they were experiencing, particularly around different holidays, several years ago. So I'm really grateful to see that. Thank you. And I know you've managed really, I feel like, very well during very difficult circumstances the last year and a half. And I'm sorry for the employees that you had that became ill during the pandemic. Yeah. I feel like the county could have done a better job. I was pushing for this of vaccinating your employees earlier, given that they were on the front lines throughout the pandemic, even without PPE at the beginning. To Gabe's point, and now with the chairman's as well, I'm grateful as the district council member. I've seen your end cap displays of Ethiopian beers and White Oak, and really glad that you're lifting them up, as well as highlighting all the Maryland beers and wines that I've been talking to you about for years. I've always thought that was under-marketed and a good potential source of revenue that helps us at the retail level and also helps our wineries and beers to compete, and comes back to us in form of tax revenue there as well. I understand it's interesting, Kent, what you said about coupons. I hadn't ever, I think, weighed in on that. I had pushed Kathy and her predecessor for years to have at least in certain areas, a price matching strategy, because my whole district borders DC, Howard County, Prince George's County, along the whole route, every mile of it. And I know we lose an awful lot of people who believe and tell me all the time, oh, they get a better price in DC. And my anecdotal experience is that they shouldn't expect that. But I think that's kind of an urban myth that's out there that you could counteract. I get that what you're charging a retailer has your built-in margin and would be hard to always match what somebody else is offering in DC. But I don't know if you have thoughts on that, or if you think there's an opportunity to do any of that, ever, because I think if we could if we had a better strategy to knock down the idea, maybe it's a market survey just to show that you're not more expensive than DC or Prince George's. That might, that might help to keep people as well. And I'm sure folks on the west side of the county in Bethesda and Chevy Chase and Potomac hear the same thing and feel the same thing about DC.
No, number one is a great question and great suggestion. I will tell you, it's something that I looked into a lot when I first got here, is because I heard the same things you were hearing. I did a lot of customer surveys. I spent a lot of time in stores talking to customers. When I would get complaints from people, I would resolve their complaint, and then I would say, hey, can I ask you a couple questions? Yeah. And I'd try and survey people that I knew weren't fans, just to see, what I could find. And you're absolutely right. That perception is out there. I will tell you that is why we did what we did in July with the everyday low price strategy. And we are using market surveys to do that. So I have a retail pricing specialist now that does monthly pricing surveys in DC, in Virginia, and in 10 local Maryland-based competitors. So in the open state of Maryland. And so that way we make sure that our prices are in line. And we market that with our everyday low pricing strategy. I can tell you that most retailers, there's still some that do it, but most of your retailers like Home Depot and Lowe's and Walmart, and they've all moved away from price matching because what they found out is that other smaller companies would purposely lower prices on things,
they'd have a loss leader.
Knowing it would hurt them. However, we like I said, we basically looked at, when we did everyday low pricing, if something normally sold for $20 and when we put it on sale, it was $15, and we would put it on sale every other month. Instead of doing that, we went to like $16.99. So we kind of split the difference, but a little bit above halfway. And what we have found is we've increased our volume. The customers love it. I've had a total of 3 complaints when we went to everyday low pricing, and I figured it was going to be a lot more because people were going to be saying, what do you mean it's not on sale? And 2 of those complaints, the product the customer was buying was actually cheaper now than it was on the sale price, because it was something we were just way out of line on. And when I explained that to them, I'm like, it's on sale every day. Like, you're getting a better price now than you used to. They were like, oh my God, I didn't even realize it. And then the one person I had to talk through it, but when I talked through it and explained it to them, they were happy with it. So, but we're going to continue to look at it because it's still a perception. We haven't fixed it. And I know we haven't fixed it. And that's where that pricing specialist comes in, and they're so important to make sure that they are keeping up with that. But they go out and do walks, they do online surveys. We're also using our suppliers for that because that's something we're allowed by law to use our suppliers for. So we have our suppliers doing market surveys for us as well and giving us that data. And then again, it comes back to the licensees. There's a fine balance on the beer and wine side to make sure that, we're also not undercutting our beer and wine stores because we don't want to hurt their business. But liquor is the huge part of our business and the biggest part of our profit. And my goal is to make us the destination for liquor, not just Montgomery County. But look, if you work here, if you drive through here, if you live near here, like, people shouldn't be going from Damascus to Mount Airy to buy liquor. They should be coming from Carroll County and Howard County to us to buy their liquor. And that's what I want.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. How big an issue is the state's restriction on third-party delivery? Because I wasn't aware that was really so much of an issue. You mentioned it. It's October. This is the right time to tell our state legislators what bills to put in to change the law. When I served in Annapolis, I sponsored the wine shipping bill for years. And eventually we got it passed. But we covered all those third-party control issues in great detail and all those concerns, by talking about which delivery services we could use. We brought in people from FedEx and UPS that flew in sometimes for the hearing, executives from their headquarters, to talk about how they, in other states, get signatures, and the people that are doing alcohol delivery, have background checks and are over 21 themselves and everything. So it's all very, very traceable and responsible. It's at least as regulated as like a bartender would be. So, we've, in Annapolis, for wine shipping at least, we've already dealt with and allowed third-party delivery. So it's not a far leap to extend that to our ABS department if that's something that would make you a lot more money.
So not as a cop-out, just so you know, but I definitely defer to Kathy's expertise on this because I think she can answer it better than I can, just because she's the expert in the background on licensing, regulation, and education. And she also knows what bills are currently being discussed and who's pushing them in Annapolis. I can tell you from a competitive standpoint, I can say I would love to do it, but there's also a lot of caveats that come with that as well. And I'm well aware of that. But Kathy, I don't know if you want to comment on that or not.
Thank you for that, Kent. Third-party delivery really isn't an issue in Maryland right now. I know that there's a conversation that's happening. And I've seen in other states where the third-party has to be permitted, and that seems to be the model that's working. And in Maryland, of course, we have the 25 liquor boards. So would they be permitted on a local level where they're delivering or what? So I think those are the conversations that are being had right now on the state level. Right now it's employees. For most part, the businesses that want to deliver, they're doing it with their employees. But you're right, Tom, there are several common carriers that are permitted to deliver right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's not really holding you back?
Not at this point. I'd love to get curbside up and running first.
Okay.
And then go from there. But I think there's going to be a lot of conversations this year, and we can certainly support some of those conversations.
Okay.
We can look and see what's happening.
How's your retention in the department?
With
do you have
staff?
a lot of employees? Yeah. Do you have a lot of employees nearing retirement? Is that going to be an issue?
Marty, anything on that? I know that we had a lot in retail.
We had a lot in retail, but for retail, it was actually very helpful because we had these new staffing strategies that we wanted to put in place that we knew were going to take time because you have to do it through attrition. And it pushed that number for us. So it allowed us to make a lot of changes a lot faster than we thought we were going to be able to.
Marty, anything to add?
I think John Dillon would agree. We had a lot less of that
Yes.
in the warehouse.
Yeah,
We're looking for people.
we have a few, but I don't see them leaving at any time soon. So
Okay, good. You're not experiencing what economists are calling the Great Resignation.
we are not in the warehouse anyway.
Okay, great. That's what I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. And Kathy, we're going to turn back to you to go to the wholesale side, if that's the next on your.
Well, next, I was going to talk about some of the programs and partnerships.
Okay.
Going back to what Gabe was talking about, and I'll be brief. I was going to give that bit of the presentation. So we did, when COVID hit, I will say that, and this is some of the partnerships that just listed: economic development, Visit Montgomery. We help support the restaurant week towards the end when we're starting to open up. Health department, DOT. This is just part of there were so many partnerships, and with the pandemic, it did bring some opportunities for partnerships and programming. The Safety Alliance model, which is a model out of the Responsible Hospitality Institute, is a model that we've used for many years here in Montgomery County. And we were able to take that model and work with HHS, with the health department, and our inspectors that could go out, went out with the health department, and the liquor inspectors kind of sort of turned into mandate inspectors, which was reflected throughout the whole state. So we saw capacity issues and all kinds of health related issues that we were learning and dealing with. So that was really interesting, and it kept going. And of course, when we started these programs, we thought, well, we'll probably do it a couple months, not realizing how long this would all last. But we did build some great partnerships for the future as well. We did turn to web links and created web links to send out to all the license holders, so that if a business wanted to use the carry out by the drink that was approved by through the executive orders, we were able to do that within 24 hours. We had almost 500 businesses registered as using carryout or trying to use carryout, anyways, wanting to use carryout if they had the supplies. It was tough to get the supplies at that point. We also turned to virtual trainings. I mean, I don't think we'll go back to some of our trainings that we were doing. We will, of course, supplement our virtual trainings with in-person as needed, but these virtual trainings are engaging. We're using tools. People are using their cell phones to engage during the trainings, and we have them in different languages. And it's just, I just see that growing. I'm really excited about some of the work we've done with that. Also, the extended premises in the streeteries are something we spend a lot of time with. I would say the whole department did, working with the businesses, helping them do that. Extended premises is what's really lasting as well. The businesses want to be able to extend their property out as long as they can, and have table service. As long as the landlord approves it, we're helping them to do that. And then the streeteries, everybody knows how popular some of these streeteries were. Some of them you call streeteries, and some of them were like dark areas that started becoming usable areas. And this goes back into what we were talking about when we talk about nighttime economy. It's really the social economy. And that's what we've been working on with the Responsible Hospitality Institute as well. So in Montgomery County, we're not just about nighttime, we're about sociability. And so working very closely with Visit Montgomery on that, and trying to get actually somebody in their office as a position to support these events and kind of things that you see that come naturally in Montgomery County. We're very sociable. We like to do a lot of events. Our one-day licensing events went from 500 to over 1,000 pre-COVID. So they're starting to build up, and everybody's getting very creative. So we want that to happen in Montgomery County. We want it to happen in a safe manner. So we've been working on that. I would say that as far as legislation, we saw the carry-out cocktails with the SB 205. There's a sunset provision to 2023. We approved almost 500 businesses with the carry-out during COVID. When the state of emergency hit and that all ended, our board did give permission to extend it. So every liquor board in the state really had the option to continue to permit carry out by the drink or not, and ours did. So there aren't any fees involved. There cannot be any fees involved. And it also allowed for the employee delivery for on-premise with by the drink, which isn't something that happened previously. So it's the Alcohol Tobacco Commission's studying that effort right now and is going to, hopefully have some data for us at the end of around 2023 to see where we go from here. But we've been very supportive. I will say that the carry out by the drink, currently there's a little over 100 businesses that are approved. So they went from almost 500 to a little over 100. And so we have been doing carry out surveys with the businesses, asking them how they like it, if it's something they want to continue. Most of them received the additional permission because they were waiting for the other shoe to drop. And they were afraid we were going to shut down again, and they want to have the option to do that. But the ones that are using it, not a lot of businesses, but the ones that are using it and will learn to pivot and make it work are using it in a very efficient manner, and it's working very well for them. So it's something that's very important to them. It's just not as many businesses as we thought would be using it that are using it. We also did mystery shops last year since we didn't have the opportunity to obviously do compliance checks to check on these carry out by the drink. And we did find at that point, the businesses that were using curbside, 66% of them never even carded or ID'd the individual that was purchasing. And it was a 21-year-old, so they did not get violations, but it was an educational tool for us. The renewals, we didn't do renewals of the licenses for 2 years. The fees were waived through a bill that was sponsored by Delegate Lukey. I think the fiscal impact to us was about 1.5 each year, 1.5 million. But we were able to really kind of work through it this year, work with those businesses. We were down 18 businesses at the end of that 2-year renewals, which is not that uncommon for renewals, even annual renewals, because that's the time when some businesses decide whether or not to stay open. But I would say the biggest difference, there's a couple differences, but one of the biggest differences is we had conversations with all of the businesses. It was really a lot of phone conversations, and people had compelling stories of how they got through this. And so I don't know that our fees were that big of an impact compared to paying rent and other things, but the businesses really, the ones that kept it together and were able to stay open, really went through a lot to do that. So it was the renewals season this year was very impactful. We just had 12 businesses come before the board this week, and they were renewed. I mean, they were with new and transfer licenses. So we see things moving in the right direction, but of course we want to continue to support. And all of our renewals this year were virtual. So they were all online, and the businesses did not have to come in to the office. They could if they wanted to, but most of them did not want to, of course. And they've got to print out their own licenses. So that was the first time, and that was one of those kind of, COVID accelerators that occurred for us because we were trying to make that happen for a couple of years. Legislation this year, we have a marketplace license that was approved a couple of years ago, right before COVID. We thought it was really sexy and really kind of something that nobody else was doing. We worked with Virginia on it because they have something similar, but now it doesn't seem as sexy because it's really carrying your drinks out to a common place. But we're massaging that a little bit more this year so that the urban districts could apply if they want to. It's really for people that are running the districts and the areas that they want those businesses to be able to sell alcohol. People are hanging out and they can bring their drinks out to this common area, but there would be accountability and somebody in charge of that area. So it's a very cool license, and we're excited about that. And then also we're still working on local licensing for state manufacturers where we've made that happen over the years so that the manufacturers can have local licensing as well as state licensing, and they can run retail businesses if they like. And we're doing it with farm breweries this year. So excited to be part of that legislation as well. And I just spoke really fast, but I know we're talking about it. But there's a lot of really cool things happening. And as a result of COVID, and you kind of hate to say that, but it's given us the opportunity to just keep looking and figuring out what's working in other areas. I'm president of the Maryland Alcohol Licensing Association for the last few years and have had an opportunity to create a communication call. We meet every Friday. It's been really a great opportunity again for us to kind of see what's happening around the state as well. And I think we're considered, the most modern, the most advanced as far as licensing and helping the businesses to try to get back on their feet. And we're here for them. So we want to be a resource. And we will continue to be a resource. I'm going to skip here to wholesale unless you all have any questions about some of the things that we've been doing through partnerships.
Do any of my colleagues have questions on this part? No, I think we're ready to go to wholesale, please.
See, I did that on purpose. So
Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Okay, John Zeltner, you're up.
Yes, ma'am. Well, first of all, I'd like to say, Council Member Katz, we had 28 new trucks. So I thought that was important from our last couple meetings.
Yep.
We send about 26 out a day. So we're in good shape with the vehicles. And
Are any of them leaking?
Well, we try to reminisce. So we put some holes in the tops of some of them.
Yeah.
No, we're in
Maybe the
great shape.
sound is not as good in this one. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. No, we're in good shape there. And even the older ones, we had an opportunity to get them fixed, so we will not have that problem. This goes back 5 years, and I'm not going to go back in time, but I think if you look at what our issues were, and you gentlemen know what our issues were because you were all involved in it at some level, but our customer service and our ability to answer the phones in a timely fashion, our pricing, our pricing wasn't relative to what was going on. Obviously our trucks, we mentioned that. Our speed of delivery from when a product hits the warehouse, when do we get it to them? And also our reach to customers, our ability to interface with customers. So it's all about customer service. And I think the biggest on this thing, on the statement here, the first thing is fulfillment rates. So 5 or 6 years ago, they were about 92, 91, 92, 93%. Worse on stock, better on specials, but not good at all. And so it's an industry standard when you measure fulfillment rates. We're at 99.6 for the last 3 or 4 months.
Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you. And that's been, there's a lot of, obviously, I'm not going to go into all the moving parts to get to that level. And we still have, our goal is to get to 99.7. So we think we got to, and those last little decimal points become the harder. The heavy lifting's done. Now it's detail. So we're definitely working on that. We've added a tremendous amount of technology in the warehouse, from receiving to voice picking, to now we are doing proof of delivery on the truck. So we're not having to credit somebody for something we didn't deliver to them after the fact. They charged before they got the product before. And then after we didn't deliver, then they get a credit for it the next day. So now what is on that truck and what is taken off that truck, that invoice is given to them at time of delivery, and that's what they are charged for. So that's been a work in progress for years, and finally we've executed that just recently. I'd say the biggest, we mentioned the customer service when people call. We have a very, very capable young lady, Melissa Romeo, who has been with the county quite some time, and she has 5 people downstairs. And their responsibility is to make sure that any call comes in the building. In the past, they would try to call the individual that was responsible. It now goes through them. They get a hold of the person to call the person back. They answer the questions. They have all the information they need to give the customer a good answer at the time, whether is your truck running late or what's going on, or is this delivery, is this going to be on this delivery, or can you place an order for me? So they do everything. And so that has become, it was a very, very dark spot on our outlook and how customers felt about us. Is now become, in my mind, a bright spot. So they've done a wonderful job. And that's that's part of the wholesale piece as well. The pricing is also part of the wholesale. Kent does the retail price. As new products come in, we set the wholesale price. We keep it separate, which is the way it should be. And so we have basically, we have a fourth tier here, which I don't want to go into too much detail, but you have an extra markup when we have to buy from a local wholesaler. They'll mark it up, then we mark it up from them. So we've done a lot of work on keeping our direct shipment lower, especially on beer pricing. We're lower than the whole area, a little bit lower, to compensate for that additional markup for the smaller items. Now, so you sound like that's a lot. We do 93% of what we sell is stock items or items that we get direct from manufacturers. 7% are these specials. So at one point, and we've done everything we possibly could to change that by redesigning the warehouse, put it in different racking so we can add more and more stock items. So one, the customer the speed gets picked up because it's in the building. They get it on their next delivery versus waiting for it to come in. And two, we're getting it direct from the manufacturer. So we've got the pricing's better, the speed's better. So all those things are in place now. I think one of the things so we don't measure ourselves anymore from where we used to be. We're measuring ourselves about being best in class as a wholesale operation. And so before we were, just trying to get our tread water there a little bit. But now I look at iStore, and that is my background for a couple of years now. I've been in that background and field. But the iStore is not a thing that's available to anybody that I'm aware of, or any wholesaler that I'm aware of, and I'm aware of a lot of them, offers to a licensee or a retailer. Basically, what happens is they have a sales rep come to the account, sell the order, they place it on an iPad and send it in for distribution, or the customer, either they will call the customer or the customer calls in. And that's all done Monday through Friday. Our ability here is the iStore is 24/7, 365 days a year. A customer can make an order on any time it's easy for them. It is a very robust. It's been 5 years we've been developing it. It's very robust, and it is very simple to use now. It was very difficult when it first rolled out. We at one point had 50%, and 50% of the people, the customers were using iStore. 50% were using the communication center, which I don't think it allowed the communication center to be as valuable as they are today, because they were taking orders half the time or more than half the time. So bottom line is we're at 90-10. 10% go to the communication center, 90 through iStore. That platform, it tells them everything they want to know about the product, the price, availability. We'll talk a little bit about Ken mentioned the difficulty getting product. So when the licensee looks in the store and that product they have is not available because the supplier didn't ship it to us, it'll give them similar or like kind products right in iStore, which we just put that in so they can choose from that whole thing. We're doing that. We've done it with beer, and by the end of the month, we'll have it done with wine and spirits too. So I would say that's best in class, and we've outperformed. The 99.6 is better, far better than the average wholesaler, and meets the top of industry standards. Supply chain, I'll go through this briefly. The staffing piece, we were unfortunate. We hit the pandemic. We had quite a few folks in the warehouse that were immune deficient, and families, and everybody went through the same thing. We had drivers, helpers, actual warehouse people. So our total complement was cut back by about 35%. But the interesting thing is, obviously that happened. Also, the on-premise was shut down for all intents and purposes. So what we just basically where the off-premise is 90% of our volume, on-premise is 10% of our volume, but it's 65% of our stops. So stops is time. So the fact that we didn't have to go to those folks, we weren't delivering to them. We were able to work our way through, readjust, re-engineer our staffing to make sure that we took care of the people that were open and in business. And I think the thing that I really am very proud of, because I know just about every private wholesaler that we deal with, and the ones that I know, they shut down for a period of time. We can't afford this. We can't allow. I mean, we have 1,100 private businesses that they depend on us. They have no place else to go. So we did not miss one day, with the exception of one day for snow this past year. So I think that was a true compliment to all the people showing up, and something I think to be proud of. So briefly, I was going to mention the industry outlook. I think Ted, kind of stole my thunder because we buy all the product too, but he was on a roll, so you can't stop the guy. So anyway, I talk to all these people, the major suppliers, and we're always trying to access product, and they're telling you, and we get all the emails, and that was the Coors guy calling me saying that he couldn't take the guy that gave them the dividers in their truck so that the products cardboard don't rub each other, went out of business. So they've been using this guy for 50 years, and now he's done. So that's that'll give you some idea. So the forecast is it's going to not be over in 2022. They do think it'll dissipate somewhat, and because supply will start somewhat catching up with demand, because the first quarter of the year is a slower quarter for alcohol sales, whether it's beer, wine, or spirits. So that'll give them a little catch-up time. But you've had plants closed; they're still closing. People they can't get employees, can't get trucks. The trucking's the issue for every industry. So I would just say this is a long-term problem. I'll give you an idea. We track, I also have the buyers in my group. We track the number of out of stocks in the top 1,000 of the store. And our average was we had 1,000 items. We were down to 9 or 10 out of stocks. And we track those and look at them. We were at 120 last week. So that'll just tell you 12% to 1% is pretty significant. So anyway, that's really it. I think it's been once again we're striving to be best in class, not be the best we could be, but the best in class wholesaler. So that's
thank you. And I think that's a great attitude. How about breakage? How are we doing on breakage?
Well, breakage is part of that fulfillment rate.
Right.
So if we're at 99.6, then that's sellable items that go into that. So we drop 100 cases off, 99.6 of them are totally sellable. And that's where we were really having problems before. And now some of that stuff, what was happening before was the drivers were even delivering the breakage to the account, so we've corrected all those things. We have breakage stations. We're doing repack. It's just, if you'd walked in the warehouse 5 or 6 years ago, you walk today, it's a clean. Yeah, so we're in good shape for that.
Okay. Very good. Well, I appreciate everything you're doing as well, just like we are for retail and every other part of this. This was a true concern. I'm going to turn to my colleagues in a second, but this was a true concern for all of us on the Public Safety Committee and the public in general. That here we are, the only supplier, the only county in America that has both wholesale and retail, and we weren't doing as good a job as we should be doing. So and that was prior to the pandemic. Now the pandemic caused a whole nother dialogue and all of the other concerns. But I know that you all are working as hard as you can to get us back to being, as you said, not the best, to compare to where we were, because really where we were. We didn't want to be compared to that, but we want to be the best in the industry, and we want to make certain that the retail stores and the restaurants that are buying from us, that they are getting the very, very best that they can get so that they can continue to be profitable. In some cases, pandemic hurt so many of them, but they need to realize that we are their partner, not their competitor in most cases,
Absolutely.
and that we work together to get them to that better place. Council, either one of my colleagues, do either one of you have anything to add?
No.
Was that a yes?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Gabe, or you? I can't see on the screen, so.
I'm good as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Anything else, Kathy?
No, we're here for you. You need us, we're here.
Well, we appreciate it. And I guess I don't know how often we should do an update. I mean, we'll certainly do it as often as we can, as we should. But this turnaround, as I say, when I first looked at the listing of the retail stores, I was concerned. Half are not where they need to be, and that means that we need to be doing something different. So the trends were coming. So I think probably maybe, though we're going to get into budgets, if we can't do it during budget, we should do it shortly thereafter to get an update where we are and what is and what isn't. I mean, as we all know, especially in retail, just because you try it doesn't mean it's going to work. But we need to continue to do the good work that we're doing. We thank you all very, very much for everything you're doing. We are your partner as well.